The champagne glass trembled in Victoria Chen's hand as she stared at the empty chair across from her. 38 years old, CEO of a tech empire worth $3 billion, and she was being stood up. Again. But this wasn't supposed to be just another date. This was supposed to be her solution, a carefully arranged meeting with Marcus Wellington III, heir to the Wellington pharmaceutical fortune. No romance. No messy emotions. Just a business arrangement between two people who understood that sometimes love was a luxury neither time nor circumstance could afford. Victoria checked her phone. 20 minutes late. The other diners at Lou Bernardine were starting to notice, their curious glances making her skin prickle with humiliation. She'd worn her armor tonight, the black Armani dress, the Cartier earrings, the mask of confidence that had carried her through hostile boardrooms and skeptical investors. But sitting here alone, she felt it all crumbling. Her assistant had arranged everything through a mutual connection. Marcus needed someone who wouldn't interfere with his lifestyle, who wouldn't demand attention he wasn't willing to give. Victoria needed an heir. The company her father built required succession planning, and the board was getting restless about her single status. It was perfect on paper, cold, calculated, and completely devoid of the disappointment that came with actual feelings. She was about to leave when someone rushed to her table. "I'm so sorry I'm late," a man said breathlessly, sliding into the seat across from her. The subway was. Victoria looked up, ready to deliver a cutting remark about punctuality and respect, but the words died in her throat. This wasn't Marcus Wellington III. This man wore a wrinkled button-down shirt with a small stain near the collar, spaghetti sauce, maybe. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, and there was genuine panic in his warm brown eyes. "You're not Marcus," she said flatly. The man blinked. "I'm Daniel Park?" We matched on. He pulled out his phone, confusion spreading across his features. "Table 42. This is table 42. Victoria's mind raced. Table 42. She remembered her assistant saying it, but she'd been distracted, signing papers while getting ready. Had there been 2 reservations? 2 dates? "I think there's been a mistake," Victoria started, but a waiter appeared with champagne, clearly assuming they were together. Daniel looked at the bottle, then at Victoria, then at the prices on the menu visible on a nearby stand. She watched him swallow hard. He couldn't afford this. That much was obvious from the way his eyes widened at the numbers. "Look," he said quietly, starting to stand. "I think my date gave me the wrong information, or maybe I wrote it down wrong. I should. Wait." Victoria surprised herself. Maybe it was the humiliation of being stood up by a man she didn't even want. Maybe it was the genuine kindness in Daniel's eyes, so different from the calculating gazes she faced every day. "You're here. I'm here. We both got dressed up for nothing. We might as well eat." Daniel hesitated. "I can't afford." "My treat," Victoria said, in a tone that didn't invite argument. "Consider it compensation for the subway disaster." He sat back down slowly, and Victoria noticed the way he held himself, proud despite the obvious financial disparity between them. There was dignity in his discomfort, and something about it intrigued her. "So," Daniel said, attempting to salvage the situation with humor. "This is either the beginning of a great story or a complete disaster. Why not both?" Victoria found herself almost smiling. As they ordered, Daniel choosing carefully from the less expensive options until Victoria firmly instructed him to get what he actually wanted, the conversation began to flow. Daniel was a 3rd-grade teacher at a public school in Brooklyn. He lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment with his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. Her mother passed away 3 years ago, Daniel explained, his voice carrying a weight Victoria recognized. Loss. The kind that reshapes you. Cancer. It was fast and brutal, and suddenly I was a single dad trying to figure out how to braid hair and explain why mommy wasn't coming home. Victoria's grip tightened on her wine glass. "I'm sorry." "Thank you." Daniel's smile was sad but genuine. "Lily's incredible though. She's the reason I'm even attempting this whole dating thing again. She told me I was becoming boring and that I needed to find someone to laugh with again. She's 7 going on 40. Smart kid, Victoria said softly. What about you? Daniel asked. What brings a woman who clearly doesn't need a free meal to a blind date on a Tuesday night? Victoria paused. She could lie. She was good at that, not outright falsehoods, but carefully constructed truths that hid more than they revealed. But something about Daniel's openness made her own walls feel exhausting. Desperation, she admitted. I'm a CEO. I built my company from the ground up after my father passed and left me with nothing but debt and a dream. Now it's worth billions, and the board thinks I need to show stability. A family. An heir. Someone to pass it all to. So you're on a date to find a business partner? Something like that. Victoria laughed, but it sounded hollow. Romance hasn't exactly worked out for me. Men either want my money or they're intimidated by my success. I thought maybe removing feelings from the equation would make it simpler. Daniel studied her for a long moment. That sounds incredibly lonely. No one had ever put it so simply, so accurately. Victoria felt something crack in her chest, a small fissure in the armor she'd worn for so long. It is, she whispered. They talked through dinner, through dessert, through the restaurant's polite hints that they were one of the last tables still occupied. Daniel told her about Lily's obsession with dinosaurs and her dream of becoming a paleontologist. He talked about the kids in his class, the way teaching barely paid enough to cover rent and Lily's needs, but how seeing a child's eyes light up when they finally understood a concept made it all worthwhile. Victoria found herself talking about things she never discussed, her father's death when she was 25, how she'd taken his failing tech company and pivoted it into AI development. The 70-hour work weeks. The loneliness of success. The way she sometimes walked through her penthouse apartment and felt like a ghost in someone else's life. You know what's crazy? Daniel said as they finally left the restaurant, stepping into the cool New York night. I came here expecting maybe an awkward hour with someone I'd never see again. Instead, I feel like I actually connected with another human being. Victoria nodded, unable to trust her voice. She felt it too, this unexpected recognition of kindred spirits. They were both alone, both lonely, both trying to figure out how to build something meaningful from the broken pieces life had handed them. Can I see you again? Daniel asked, then immediately looked embarrassed. Sorry, that's presumptuous. You were supposed to meet someone else, and I'm clearly not. Yes, Victoria interrupted. I'd like that. They exchanged numbers, and Victoria watched Daniel head toward the subway, refusing her offer of a car service with the same quiet pride she'd noticed earlier. As her driver pulled up, she realized she was smiling. Actually smiling, not the practiced expression she wore for cameras and board meetings. Over the next few weeks, Victoria and Daniel created a relationship that defied logic. She would finish 16-hour days at the office and meet him at small diners in Brooklyn where the food cost less than her morning coffee. He introduced her to Lily, who interrogated Victoria about her knowledge of Triceratops with the seriousness of a federal prosecutor. Victoria found herself at elementary school fundraisers, helping Daniel's class raise money for new computers. She anonymously donated twice what they needed, unable to stand the thought of these kids learning on machines older than they were. Daniel suspected but never said anything, just squeezed her hand in quiet thanks. But reality was never far behind. Marcus Wellington III's people finally reached out, apologetic about the missed connection. They wanted to reschedule. The board was pressuring Victoria more aggressively, with some members suggesting that if she couldn't provide a succession plan, perhaps it was time to consider her position. And then there was Daniel's world, where Victoria's wealth created an invisible barrier. She watched him struggle with accepting even small gifts, a new coat when she noticed his old one was threadbare, dinner at a restaurant where he didn't have to study the prices. His pride was both admirable and frustrating. The breaking point came on a Saturday afternoon at Daniel's apartment. Lily was at a friend's house, and Victoria had come over